Alright guys, this is the last video that will be for the basic concepts of probability. And I want to give you guys some rules of probability. Now, the first rule of probability that you need to remember is probability is never negative. So any number that is less than 0 for probability cannot exist. That cannot occur. The probability is never greater than 1, or as a percentage, it is never greater than 100%. When an event cannot possibly occur, the probability is 0. For example, if I say that I am going to roll a single die, what is the probability of me selecting the number 7? That is 0, because going back up to my die sample space, there is no number 7 present. Therefore, that cannot occur. When the event is certain to occur, the probability is 1. That means without any doubt, we know this is going to happen. An example of that, when I roll a single die, what is the probability of me selecting a number that is less than 7? That's going to be 1. Because if I look at my die sample space, all of these numbers here are less than 7. So that probability is going to be 6 options chosen divided by 6 total options in the sample space, which is 1. And last but not least, if you add the probabilities for every outcome in the sample space, the result is always 1. So once again, every probability for every outcome in a sample space added together will sum to 1. These are rules that you should know, especially when you're doing your homework and especially when you enter into Stats 250. Now, here is the main focus of this video, and it's going to be based on what is called the complement rule. The probability of a complement. Now, remember, complement is the opposite of the event. So, for any event X, if the complement of X is the event that X does not occur, then we have 2 rules. The probability of the event will equal to 1 minus the probability that the event will not happen. The probability of X will equal to 1 minus the probability that X will not happen. And we call that not X. If X is green, X prime, which is X complement, is not green. Everything else in the universe of colors that is not green. Think of a complement back to sets. The complement will be every element in the universal set that is not in the subset. Translating that into probability, the complement will be every element in the universal set, which we call the sample space. So every element in the sample space that is not in the event, and the event is the subset. And also, the probability that the event will not happen will equal to 1 minus the probability the event will happen. So we're going to see how to work that in a minute by using a question that I took from Alex. So it says here, we have a deck of 8 cards numbered from 1 to 8. Some are gray, some are white. The cards numbered 1, 2, 5, 6, and 8 are gray. The cards numbered 3, 4, and 7 are white. A card is drawn at random. Let X be the event that the card drawn is gray, and let P of X be the probability of X. Let not X be the event the card drawn is not gray, and let P of not X be the probability of not X. For each event in the table, check the outcome or outcomes that are contained in the event. Then in the last column, enter the probability of the event. So we know here that X is equal to gray. which means not X equals not gray. In this case, if the card is not gray, then the card has to be white because there are only two colors. So if not X is not gray, the equivalent of saying not X, at least in this case, is saying a white card. Let's select the options. X is gray. So that's 1, 2, 5, 6, and 8. Out of 8 options, 5 of them are gray. So the probability of gray is 5/8. Not X being not gray, which is white in this case, is 3, 4, and 7. That's going to be 3 out of 8. So we answered part A. Part B says subtract 1 minus the probability of not X. Now, going back to the complement rule, we know that 1 minus the probability of not X is going to equal to the probability of X. So I already know when I do 1 minus the probability of not X is going to equal to the probability of X, which in this case is 5/8. However, I want to do the math to prove it. So 1 minus the probability of not X is going to be 3/8. So that's 1 minus 3/8. When I subtract fractions, they must have the same denominator. So I'm going to put a 1 below. And the least common denominator in this case is going to be 8. The second fraction is fine because there's an 8 in my denominator. But the first fraction needs the 8 down there. So I'm going to multiply my denominator by 8. And what I do to the bottom, I will also do to the top. So that's going to be 8/8 minus 3/8. Same denominators, subtract the tops. 8/8 minus 3/8 is 5/8. And if you notice, 5/8 is the same thing as saying the probability of X, which means the answer part C, 1 minus the probability of not X is the same as the probability of X. And we get that from using the complement rule of probability. All right, guys, that is it to probability. That is it to the basic concepts of probability, I should say. I hope that made sense. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you soon. Take care.